Have you ever wondered how an AI assistant can connect to your files, databases, GitHub, APIs, and other tools? This is where something called MCP, or Model Context Protocol, comes in. MCP provides a standardized way for AI applications to communicate with external tools and data. In this video, we'll understand what MCP is, why it was created, how it works, and why it is becoming important for AI agents. And don't worry, I'll explain it from the basics, without assuming you already know MCP. So, let's get started. Imagine you build an AI assistant. Now you want that assistant to access a database. Then you want it to read files. Then GitHub. Then an API. Then maybe a business application. Without a common standard, each connection can require different integration logic. Your AI application ends up having many different connections to many different systems. This can become complicated very quickly. MCP is designed to make this communication more standardized. The basic idea is actually quite simple. Instead of building completely different integration methods for every tool, an AI application can communicate through a standard protocol. Think of it like this. Your AI application connects to an MCP server. That MCP server provides access to specific tools and information. So the architecture becomes AI application, then MCP, then tools and data. This creates a common communication layer between AI applications and external capabilities. MCP stands for Model Context Protocol. Let's break that name down. Model refers to the AI model or AI-powered application. Context refers to the information and capabilities that the AI can use. And protocol means a standardized set of rules for communication. So, in simple words, MCP is a standardized way for AI applications to interact with external information and capabilities. Here's an easy way to understand MCP. Think about a universal adapter. You may have many different devices, but instead of creating a completely different connection for every device, you use a standard interface. MCP follows a similar idea for AI systems. Different tools can expose their capabilities through MCP, and the AI application can communicate with them using the MCP protocol. So instead of thinking about dozens of completely different integrations, think AI application, standard interface, external capability. Now let's look at the basic MCP architecture. There are three important concepts to understand: the host, the client, and the server. The host is the AI application that the user interacts with. Inside that host, an MCP client manages communication with MCP servers. And an MCP server provides access to specific tools, resources, or other capabilities. So the basic flow is AI application, MCP client, MCP server, and finally the external system. Let's make these three terms even simpler. The host is the application running the AI experience. For example, an AI assistant. The MCP client is the component inside that application that communicates with an MCP server. And the MCP server exposes capabilities that the AI can use. For example, an MCP server might provide access to a database. So remember, host is the application. Client handles the MCP communication. Server provides the capabilities. Now imagine you ask your AI assistant, "Show me today's sales." The AI understands your request. It realizes that it needs information from a database. The MCP client communicates with the appropriate MCP server. The MCP server provides access to a database tool. That tool retrieves the required information. The result is returned through the MCP server and client back to the AI. Finally, the AI explains the result to you. So the overall flow is user, AI, MCP client, MCP server tool, result, and back to AI. One of the most important concepts in MCP is tools. Tools allow an AI application to perform actions. For example, an MCP server could provide a tool called Search Database. Another tool could be Create File. Another could be Search GitHub or Call an API. The AI can decide which tool is appropriate for the user's request. For example, if the user asks for customer information, the AI could call a database search tool. So a simple way to remember this is, tools allow the AI to do something. MCP can also provide resources. Resources are about information that the AI can access. For example, documents, files, database information, configuration data, or other sources of context. Imagine the AI needs information about a customer. Instead of asking the user to manually copy the information into the chat, an MCP-connected system could provide access to the relevant resource. So remember this distinction. Tools perform actions. Resources provide information. Another MCP concept is prompts. Prompts can provide reusable instructions or templates to an AI application. For example, imagine an organization repeatedly wants an AI to analyze customer orders. Instead of creating the same instruction every time, a reusable prompt template can describe how the analysis should be performed. The AI application can then use that prompt as part of its workflow. So we can think of MCP capabilities in three simple categories. Tools do things. Resources provide information. Prompts provide reusable instructions. Let's make that distinction very clear. Tools are for actions. For example, searching a database or creating a file. Resources are for information. For example, documents, files, or database data. And prompts are reusable instructions. For example, an analysis template or a workflow instruction. So if you remember only one thing from this slide, remember, tools equal action, resources equal data, prompts equal instructions. Let's use a real-world example. Suppose you ask your AI, show me the top 5 customers by revenue this month. The AI first understands your request. It realizes that this information isn't inside the conversation. It needs access to a database. So the AI can use an MCP-connected database capability. The appropriate tool runs a query. The database returns the results. Those results are passed back to the AI. And finally, the AI can explain the top 5 customers to you. The important point is that the AI isn't magically accessing the database. There is a communication layer connecting the AI application to that external system. Let's look at the request more closely. You say, find today's sales. The AI determines that a sales database is required. The MCP client sends a request to the MCP server. The MCP server identifies the requested tool. The tool queries the database. The database returns the result. The MCP server sends the result back. And the AI receives that information and generates the final response. So there is a complete request and response cycle happening behind the scenes. Now you might be wondering, is MCP just another API? Not exactly. APIs are still extremely important. An API allows software systems to communicate with each other. MCP focuses specifically on creating a standardized way for AI applications to discover and interact with tools and other capabilities. With traditional integrations, an AI application might need custom integration logic for different services. With MCP, compatible capabilities can be exposed through a common protocol. So MCP doesn't mean APIs disappear. Instead, MCP can provide a standardized layer for AI applications to interact with those capabilities. This becomes especially interesting when we talk about AI agents. Imagine an AI agent that can search the web, read files, query databases, interact with GitHub, and call business APIs. The agent needs a way to discover and use all of these capabilities. MCP can provide a standardized way to connect those capabilities to the AI application. The agent can understand the task, choose an appropriate tool, execute the action, observe the result, and continue working. This is one reason MCP is particularly interesting for agent-based AI systems. But there's an important point. MCP does not mean an AI automatically gets unlimited access to everything. Permissions and security still matter. For example, an AI might be allowed to read a sales report, but modifying a production database could require additional permission, and deleting important data could be completely blocked. So MCP provides a communication mechanism. It doesn't remove the need for authentication, authorization, access controls, or human approval. When AI can take real-world actions, security becomes extremely important. Now let's step back and look at the bigger picture. An AI application might need access to many different systems. A database, files, GitHub, search, Business applications, APIs. Instead of treating every capability as a completely different integration, MCP provides a standardized communication approach. The AI application can communicate with MCP servers, and those servers can expose the capabilities needed by the application. This creates an ecosystem where AI applications can interact with many different external systems. Let's put everything together. A user starts with a goal. The AI application understands the request. The MCP client communicates with an MCP server. The server exposes tools, resources, or prompts. The appropriate external system performs the required operation. The result comes back through the MCP server. The MCP client passes the result to the AI application, and the AI uses that information to respond to the user. So the complete flow is user goal, AI, MCP client, MCP server, tool or resource, external system, result, AI, user. That is the basic architecture behind MCP. So, what is MCP? In one sentence, MCP is a standard way for AI applications to discover and interact with external tools, data, and capabilities. The simplest mental model is AI, MCP, tools plus data plus services. And remember the three important concepts. Tools perform actions. Resources provide information. Prompts provide reusable instructions. MCP is becoming an important concept as AI moves beyond simply generating text and starts interacting with the tools and systems we use every day. If this video helped you understand MCP, please like the video. It really helps the channel. And if you want more beginner-friendly videos about AI, data engineering, AI agents, MCP, LangGraph, and modern technology, make sure to subscribe to the channel. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.